everyone, today we are going to take a look at two different bow strokes. One is called staccato and the other is called hooked bowing. And so since we're talking about our bow, we're going to spend a lot of time focused on what our right hand is doing. And in fact, in both of the exercises that we're looking at today, your left hand is basically playing a D major scale with a little bit of a twist on it each time. So the right hand is our focus today, and we're going to start with the bow stroke called staccato. And anytime you see that word, it starts with an S, and there's two other S words that I want you to think about. The first is short, and the second one is space. Now, when I say the note is short, I don't mean in the sense that there are certain lengths of notes that are shorter than others. For example, a whole note is 4 beats, and a half note is 2 beats, so that makes the half note a shorter note. What I mean is that if you had a quarter note that you would normally play a nice full bow for, if that note was marked as staccato, you would play the pitch a little bit shorter and have a space in between the next notes. So let me kind of give you a demonstration. For regular quarter notes, we might call this legato or détaché are the two words that we use for those. For regular D quarter notes, if they were staccato, the pitch would be the note would be a little bit shorter, and then there would be a space in between each note. So short and space. So you can actually try that right now if you have your instrument. We'll play our 4 quarter notes, regular bows. Ready? Here we go. And now with the staccato bowing. Ready? Go. Good. Now, one thing I want to point out, a lot of students, when they hear that the note is short, they use teeny tiny amounts of bow. This is what it will sound like if you're doing that, and this is the incorrect way. If you're using tiny bows, it's going to sound scratchy like that. And the thing that I always say, and you'll hear me say this quite often when we're working with staccato, is you can play a short note but still use a lot of bow. You just need to move your bow fast. So I'm going to play a really short note and use almost all of my bow. So the idea is you play that short note, you stop your bow, and there's a space. I guess there's actually 3 S's: short, stop, and space. So lots of S words to help us remember that staccato. So let me show you our music here that we're going to work with for the staccato bowing. If you're a violinist, you can take a screenshot of this. Viola, you can go ahead and take a screenshot of this. And cello and bass, you can go ahead and take a screenshot of this. Now I'm going to go back to the violin music to have up while I'm playing, but if you're a viola, cello, or bass, you can go ahead and pull up your music. You don't even need to be seeing me as long as you're playing along and listening. Let me go back here a couple of slides. There we go. All right, so if we look at our notes, you can tell this is basically an ascending or going up D major scale. Each measure is a new note, right? The first measure is D, second measure E, third measure F sharp, fourth measure G, pop down to measure 5 on the second line, that's A, next measure B, next measure C sharp, and next measure high D. Those should all be comfortable notes for everybody. And you'll notice that the rhythm, this is what we call the pepperoni pizza rhythm. So we have 4 eighth notes and 2 quarter notes. It'll sound like this. So each measure will sound like pepperoni pizza. But you'll see that the quarter notes, the pizza, they have staccato. They're staccato. The little dot underneath is the symbol for staccato. So those are going to be those short notes that we just worked on a minute ago. So I'm going to play the first measure for you. I want you to listen once and then give it a try on your own. So it's smooth, and then a space and short, stop, and space for the 2 quarter notes. So let's just try just the D. And by the way, you want to start in the middle of your bow if you're watching the video right now, and if you're not, you can maybe pull the video up. See how I've placed my bow on the string in the middle of the bow. If you start down at the frog, you're going to run out of space, and if you start up at the tip, it's going to be very uncomfortable. So set that bow right in the middle for this. So we're just going to try the D's. Ready, here we go. Okay, and you should be feeling that stopping of your bow in between the staccato notes. So we should be able to go all the way up this scale, keeping that rhythm and the correct bow strokes. So you have your bow set in the middle. Make sure your left hand is ready to put those fingers down. But like I said, this should be pretty easy at this point. We've played lots of D major scales, so that part shouldn't be too difficult. We're focusing on the bow strokes. So let's see if we can get all the way through this. Ready, and here we go. Good. And if you wanted to challenge yourself, you could even go backwards. I know it's not written in the music, but you could practice going backwards. Now, with the staccato, it's really important. You may have stuck with me the whole time, but not have been doing the correct bow stroke for the staccato. So it's important that you really are stopping that bow in the middle. One thing that you can do, and you can kind of be your own teacher on this, is record a video of yourself playing through this exercise, and then you can actually watch to see if your bow stops, right? So you actually need your bow to stop in between the playing. So that's the important part with the staccato, it's the stopping. So now we're going to move on to something called hooked bowing, which is similar to staccato, but again, there's a little bit of a twist to it. Let me show you your music first, and then we'll talk about what these symbols mean. So I'm going to go over here. So this is for violins. You can take a screenshot. Oops. There we go. Violas, go ahead and take your screenshot. And cello bass, go ahead and take a screenshot. All right, let me get back to our violin music here. I think it's going to be best for this one if I go to the bottom. There we go. So we can see that, again, this is basically the top line is a D major scale going up, all in quarter notes. The bottom line is a little bit different, and we'll deal with that when we get there. But the hooked bowing is the new thing. And you can see on the top line, all of these notes are staccato. They all have that dot underneath them. A dot next to the note means something different, but a dot underneath means staccato. But they also have this symbol, which is actually called a slur. We may have talked about this briefly in a lesson, but I know for the fourth graders, we haven't had our official lesson on slurs yet. But what this symbol means is that we're going to do something called hooked bowing, which means you are going to do two staccato notes in the same direction. So let me just demonstrate. If I did them in different directions, it would be down, up, like this. If I did them in the same direction, it would either be two downs or two ups. And you can see that I'm stopping my bow in between. Regardless of if I'm going down or up, there's a stop, there's a space in between. And physically stopping my bow, that thing that we worked on in the last one. So we should be able to right now play this whole first line. This is just an ascending or going up D major scale, okay? And we go down, down, up, up, down, down, up, up. So they were pretty nice, and they marked that it's double down, double up, and it just alternates like that. So again, we're not going to start all the way at the frog, maybe in the lower half, somewhere around here, okay? 1, 2, here we go. Awesome. Now, if we take a look at the second line, this is different, but it's actually a great example of how in music you often won't see this many hooked bows in a row. Sometimes you will, but normally they're just kind of stuck into um, a melody. Maybe you have a line or two of music and there's one hooked bow in it. And so this is an example of how we, have to know when it's hooked bow and when it's not. So we now have half notes for some of them. So that'll be a nice long smooth 2-beat bow, and then two hook bows. So it'll be D, C sharp, C sharp, B, A, A. And again, following the bowing directions. Let's see if we can get through that bottom line together. So set your fingers down for high D, 3 fingers or 4 fingers, depending on who you are, what instrument you play. Okay, and I'm going to start with a long half note. So 1, 2, ready, go. Awesome. So let's go all the way through this. Again, remembering you are stopping the bow in between with those hooked bowings. All right. Setting my bow down, the whole thing all the way through. Ready, and here we go. Now a half note. Awesome. So those are the 2 bow strokes, staccato and hooked bowing. If you wanted to challenge yourself a little bit more, both of these exercises were with the D major scale. You could play them using the other scales that we've learned. Violins, we've also learned the G scale and the A scale. Cellos and violas, we've also learned the C scale and the G scale. And bass, I think we've maybe done one more, I think maybe G. So you can apply these to your other scales. And you can also go back. Some of the tunes we've played recently have had some hooked bowings in them, and we hadn't actually had our lesson on it yet. So you can go back and now that you know what that means, apply that bowing to those pieces as well. So again, this is all in the Google Classroom. You can find this slideshow, and I would love to see a video or hear a recording of you playing one of these.